welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is going to be another episode of the Championship Roundup, and in this video here today, guys, we have a whole lot of Championship action to go ahead and discuss. So in this video here today, guys, we're going to be going over each game that did take place over the course of the weekend in the Championship. I'm going to be giving my view of what I thought of all the different games, but what I'm of course interested to know is what did you make of your team's performance this weekend. Make sure you do leave a comment in the comments down below, and I will be responding to as many of them as possible because we had a pretty hectic weekend in the Championship. It was also quite an unpredictable one as well, so fair play to everyone who managed to get a score prediction correct this weekend. I will include your guys' comments on screen now, so if any of you guys did successfully manage to predict any of the scorelines this weekend, I will include your comment on screen now. So fair play to everyone who got one right. This week I managed to get 2 of my score predictions correct, so that's not bad going from me. And as well as that, guys, what I'm also interested to know from you guys is what do you think was the goal of the weekend and what do you think was the result of the weekend. I'll be revealing what I thought they were at the end of the video, but I'm interested to know what you guys have to say. So without further ado, guys, let's get into some of the action. So for our first game to go ahead and discuss, we had the first game taking place on Friday night between Birmingham and Cardiff City, and to be fair, in my prediction building up to this game, I did say that I think that Birmingham would show a response. Of course, they were coming off the back of that 6-1 defeat before the international break, and this was of course Steve Cottrell's first game in charge, and they really did show that, you know, in this game it was quite a resilient looking Birmingham side. You know, defensively they weren't letting Cardiff build up or develop any plays really. Going forward, I thought Cardiff were a little bit poor in this game really. You know, from what we've seen from them so far this season, they were nowhere near their best, but that's not taking anything away from Birmingham in this game because they more than deserved the 3 points in my opinion. And there's one player we have to touch on first of all. That is of course Che Adams. Birmingham have seriously missed this guy in the past few weeks when he was out injured. He scored the only goal of the game, and what a goal it was as well. He picked up the ball from about the halfway line, ran and weaved through so many players, and then fired it into the back of the net. Definitely a contender for goal of the weekend, and Birmingham now need to use this as a platform to build on. And so Birmingham fans, what do you think could happen for the rest of the season? Let me know down below. And then for our next game, we then had the other game taking place on Friday night between Bristol City and Burton Albion, and not the best game of the weekend, of course, finishing 0-0, but despite that, Bristol City did have quite a few chances in this game. I think that's fair to say, and Burton Albion's game plan for this one was quite clear really from minute one. They were looking to grind out a result in this game and just play for the point really, and fair play to them, that did go ahead and work in the end. You know, coming off the back of 2 successive 4-0 defeats, this wasn't really a surprise for them, and for them to be able to contain Bristol City's attack, which has been tearing through teams so far this season, fair play to them for doing that. You know, Bristol City would have been frustrated. You know, they did have chances. I think Jamie Patterson had a good chance, Aidan Flint had a good chance, Josh Brown had a decent chance as well, but fair play to Burton Albion, they defended well, and their goalkeeper Bywater had a terrific game. And then into our next game, guys, we now have the Saturday games to go ahead and talk over. So our first one was between Barnsley and Middlesbrough, and this game was a bit mental really in the first 10 minutes. There was 3 goals scored in the first 10 minutes of this game, which saw Barnsley take a 2-1 lead, and Middlesbrough I thought would have been a little bit disappointed with their start. Defensively, I thought they looked a little bit disorientated in this one really. Of course, it was Ashley Fletcher who scored an own goal in the 3rd minute, and then McGeehan's goal that they allowed him to score. A little bit of poor defending from Middlesbrough there, a little bit of lapses in concentration maybe, and not enough communication perhaps, but Middlesbrough of course got back into the game with goals from Braithwaite and Assombalonga, 2 tidy finishes from them, and in the second half, honestly, both sides did have chances to go ahead and win this game, but neither in the end were able to do this. And then for our next game to go ahead and talk over, guys, we had Bolton Wanderers who came up against Sheffield Wednesday and finally Bolton have been able to get their first victory of this season. And fair play to them, and fair play to everyone as well who predicted this scoreline. You know, not a lot of people were predicting the Bolton win for this one, but fair play to everyone who managed to go ahead and do so. And it was Amiobi who got Bolton off to the perfect start in this game with a curling effort from outside the box, and that just set Bolton on their way, really. Defensively, I thought Bolton were really excellent in this one. You know, they really were putting bodies on the line to stop Sheffield Wednesday in this one. Bolton's keeper as well, especially, I thought had a terrific game. He was tipping over efforts. You know, Barry Bannon had a decent chance. Jordan Rhodes had a fantastic chance that he managed to squander somehow, but Sheffield Wednesday were definitely knocking on the door for this one, but then Bolton managed to double their advantage thanks to an own goal from Hutchinson. And after that, it was just a bit mental, really, the closing stages of this game. We saw Gary Medine miss a golden opportunity from about 4 yards out somehow, which would have made it 3-0 to Bolton and really wrapped up the game. Kieran Lee managed to get Wednesday back into the game, but even that wasn't going to be enough for them in the end. So fair play to Bolton. One thing I will say is that, of course, it's their first victory of the season, but when reality does set in for them again, you know, they are still bottom of the table. So if anything, they need to use this as a platform to build on. But from some of the signs I saw from Bolton in this game, they've got potential this season now. Sheffield Wednesday, however, let me know what you guys are thinking down below. And then for the next game, we then had Brentford, who came up against Millwall, and in the end, it was the one goal from Romain Sawyers, which was enough to give them the 1-0 victory. Now, after reading up about this game and watching some of the highlights, there were a few dodgy decisions, I think it's fair to say, from the ref in this one. So let me know down below, Brentford and Millwall fans, what you thought of his performance. But overall, it was quite an open game from both teams, both playing some decent football at times. Millwall, you know, being that quite direct side that we've come to expect. And it was a surprise to me that this game only finished 1-0 in the end with some of the chances that both sides had. But of course, the big talking point in this one was Millwall having a penalty late on in this game, which Daniel Bentley managed to go ahead and save. I think there was only about 10 minutes left or so when Bentley saved that penalty. Massive moment for Brentford in this one, and a good 3 points for them. And in our next game we then go into, we had Fulham, who came up against my club Preston North End, and in the end this one managed to finish as a 2-2 draw. So once again we had more late drama going on in this game, and I think it's fair to say this was a classic game of two halves, really. In the first half, I thought Preston's intensity was too much for Fulham, really. I thought we were excellent both on and off the ball in the first half. Goals from Hugill and Maguire managed to see us go into half-time with a 2-0 lead. And then in the second half, there was just a big momentum swing towards Fulham, which really didn't help Preston in the second half, of course. Surely Maguire had to go off with an injury, which wasn't brilliant for us. That sort of limited us to be able to play on the counter-attack, losing his pace going forward. But we just seemed to retreat and invited pressure on us, and Fulham in the end managed to take full advantage of that. Of course, they got a penalty and converted that, and then in the 96th minute, a mistake from Chris Maxwell managed to gift Fulham a 2-2 draw, and they obviously got the point in the end. So devastating for Preston to lose it in the last minute, but Fulham did look a lot better in the second half. And then into our next game we then had Leeds United, who came up against Reading, and in the end it was the away side Reading who managed to go up and pick up the 1-0 victory. So of course, Leeds at the moment definitely not in the best run of form considering how they were playing 3 or 4 weeks ago, and more of that was on display in this one. I don't think this was the game of the weekend in terms of a spectacle for both sides. Leeds had a couple of decent chances to go ahead and take the lead. Pontus Jansson had a decent chance and a couple of other efforts, but not really creating much considering they were beating teams by like 5 goals not too long ago. It's a bit weird to see Leeds being so creatively inept at the moment, but Reading managed to take full advantage of that, and fair play to them. This was a massive 3 points for them, and they have Vito Manone to hugely thank for that, for his penalty save late on in this game. And then into our next game we then have more late drama going on in the Championship, this time between Norwich and Hull City, and once again, a pretty typical game of two halves. Once again, I think it's fair to say. In the first half, it was Nuadiko who managed to take the lead for Hull City in the 29th minute, and then going into the second half, of course, Norwich recently had been on this great run of form, so you always anticipated them to get back into the game somehow, but the way they really did get back into this game was David Miller's red card on the 57th minute. I thought that had quite an effect on Hull City, you know, considering the type of football that Norwich play. Hull were always going to struggle a little bit to play with 10 men against that style of football, and in the end it did take a 96-minute equaliser from Nelson Oliveira to get Norwich back in the game, but that's the luck that's going Norwich's way at the moment, and fair play to them. Our next game then featured Sheffield United, who came up against Ipswich Town, and Sheffield United once again managed to go ahead and pick up another victory, and I think it's fair to say I just have to hold my hands up and say I was wrong about Sheffield United this season. You know, at the start of the season when I was making my prediction videos for them, I think I predicted them to finish around 18th or something in the Championship. That's not going to be the case if they manage to carry on their current run of form. They're currently 3rd in the Championship, which is just absolutely staggering considering they were only promoted last season. But in terms of this game, both sides did have a number of chances in this one. In the end, it was Chris Basham's attempt which was enough to win it for Sheffield United. You know, Ipswich got a little bit unlucky. Waghorn had a couple of chances. He hit the crossbar in the second half, as did Leon Clark for United as well. But in the end, a terrific victory which propels them even further up the league. And then for our next game we then have Sunderland, who came up against QPR, and in the end this one managed to finish as a 1-1 draw, and quite an interesting spectacle this one, I think it's fair to say. And overall I did think QPR got a little bit unlucky not to go ahead and win this game. Of course, they took the lead in the first half, and in the second half they were knocking on the door of Sunderland to go and really push for that second goal. You know, Luongo had quite a few long-ranging efforts which just couldn't sneak into the back of the net. Freeman was creating a bit as well. He had a couple of chances, but in the end it was Aidan McGeady who managed to rescue the point for Sunderland, and a terrific goal from him as well. A bit of trickery on the edge of the box before he fired it into the back of the net, and I think it's fair to say if Sunderland didn't have Aidan McGeady, they really would be in trouble this season, in my opinion. You know, they are rooted second bottom of the Championship, so of course things aren't looking brilliant for them, but with McGeady's quality, I still get that feeling that Sunderland won't go down this season, because the amount of chances he's going to create for them and goals he's going to score, they have a lot to owe McGeady this season, in my opinion, and in the end it was enough to get them a point for this one. And then to the evening kickoff on Saturday we then had Wolves, who came up against Aston Villa, and in the end it was a very convincing 2-0 home victory for Wolves in this one, and I don't think Aston Villa can have any complaints about this one really. It was just a fantastic performance from Wolves. You know, what I was most impressed by with Wolves really is their forward three. Their interchanging link-up play is absolutely staggering at times. You know, it is quite baffling really, considering how awful Wolves were at times last season. For them to have this short turnaround and to be playing this style of football already in the Championship, you know, we're only in October this season. It is, you know, fair play to Wolves and their management staff for them to be able to be doing this already. But Jota, their main man again, took the lead for Wolves on the 55th minute, and I think one thing that has to be said, I thought that Leo Bonatini had quite an effect coming off the bench on half-time. I thought he had a very positive impact on the game actually. He of course managed to get the second goal for Wolves, which wrapped it up for them in the end. And in terms of Aston Villa, I was quite disappointed for them really. Going forward, they weren't really offering much. I thought that there were times in the game where I thought they were going to break and really go at Wolves, but they were just a little bit limp going forward, so that was a little bit disappointed with. But Wolves, top of the Championship. And then our final game to go ahead and talk over this weekend was the derby on Sunday between Derby County and Nottingham Forest, and in the end it was a 2-0 home victory for Derby. And I mean, Derby got off to the absolute dream start in this game. After only about 25 seconds or something, Vidra managed to take the lead for them with a fantastic long-ranging effort. And in terms of Forest, I thought it was maybe a little bit of suspect defending. You know, you can't be allowing players like Vidra to have any space on the edge of the box, but he made the most of that. And then for the rest of the first half, Forest, I don't know how they didn't score in this one. You know, they were battering Derby at times going forward. You know, Barry Mackay I thought was excellent. He just couldn't manage to find that final bit of quality to get past Scott Carlson in this one. And Cummins as well had a great chance to equalise for them, just couldn't do it. And in the end, it was Derby who punished them as David Nugent scored the match winner with the second goal in the 50th minute. And this game really did sum up Forest's season so far, to be honest. A bit of poor defending and creating a lot of chances, but not being anywhere near clinical enough. So that's something that Forest will have to learn. But fair play to Derby, very clinical, and Vidra, what a player he is. So there you have it, guys. There were all the matches that took place in the Championship this weekend. So what did you make of all of this weekend's action, guys? Let me know in the comments down below. So in terms of my result of the weekend, there are quite a few contenders for this one. I think that's fair to say. So I'm interested to know what you guys think about this one. But for me, it could only be one. I'm going to have to give the result of the weekend to Bolton Wanderers for finally getting their first win of the season over Sheffield Wednesday. And then in terms of my goal of the weekend, once again, quite a few contenders for this one, but for me, it's going to have to be Che Adams. That goal he scored on Friday night, the only goal in that game for Birmingham, was a terrific effort, weaving his way past so many players and then finding the back of the net. That's my goal of the weekend. So there you have it, guys. That will now wrap it up for this video. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you check out all of the other links in the description down below, and make sure you subscribe for regular Championship content. But apart from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.